The
no,
same way...
But you referred earlier to the fact that because of security issues,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
a major governance issue, parents are not able to feel comfortable enough to send their children to unity schools like they used to be able to. And so there's a paradox there, because there's the expectation that it's very difficult to be loyal and passionate about a state that is not protecting you, for example. And so my question again is it possible for us to have a national identity that we can be proud of when on many levels the state is failing us?
Again, I still agree that it is possible. In the Unity Schools All Students Association is something that we strive to create, and we have succeeded in doing that, and to maintain what we have been taught from secondary school. However,
so at an individual level?
On that, well, as a level, but when we begin to appreciate and come together and appreciate our shared values, then we can, as a people, begin to demand accountability from our leaders. And as such, when we start to do that, when we feel that we're a part of the conversation, regardless of the issues, if we were a part of the conversation and we're being heard, then there's hope. And where there's hope, there's definitely a will to succeed.
I want to bring in the audience. So anyone with comments, questions, please raise your hands and we'll come to you. We'll start with the gentleman in blue.
Thank you so much. My name is Francis Duru. I'm an actor. First, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I think it's a case of a poison chalice. What do I mean by that? I served 1998 as an actor. I attended a federal university. I travel out of this country, and every which time I travel out of this country, I make bold to say I'm that Nigerian identity that the world outside sees and is quick to identify. So I make bold to say national identity goes beyond ethnicity and religion. I brought in the idea of the poison chalice. If during youth service, as an Igbo boy, nobody sees me as an Igbo boy, nobody sees me as a Christian, they see me as an artist. They see me as somebody who brings homes together. I'm that Nigerian identity. If I travel abroad and they say, look at that Nigerian actor, it is an identity. So the golden point is, there is a national identity. The resourcefulness of our youth, our diversity, what did I write here again? Our resilience has come to express themselves in our sport, in entertainment. And I make bold to say that is the most common definition of what we can call the national identity of this country today.
Okay, I have to stop you and bring in someone else because I may have to go to break quickly. Gentleman in white, yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Mohammed Kabir Isa from the Department of Local Government and Development Studies, Ahmadu Bello University. I'm an associate professor of governance. Part of the problem which we've been talking about national identity, some of the identity for example, Professor Jibo, my teacher, mentioned, are identities created by Nigeria. They were identities that did not exist before colonial rule. Before colonial rule, you are either an Ijashaman, a Bakabe, a Bakano, Bazazagi, and what have you. These are identities created as a result of colonial rule and post-independence, if you like, deficiencies in the architecture of governance in Nigeria. So people find comfort zones where they deem fit. Now, to answer one of the questions which you raised about how do we forge ahead, is a fundamental problem of elite and the leadership that we have. If our elite and leaders come together and decide that Nigeria must exist as Nigeria and lead, people will follow. And then, of course, people will, you talked about demand and supply. People will meet their obligation. When people see leaders commit themselves, and that brings in the concept of patriotism, not just the love, but the giving, the loyalty, the service to country, not the stealing and the rape of the country that gives this identity what it is today. Thank you.
And now, Professor Juba, I want to bring you in quickly because he raised an issue that nobody here has talked about, which is of class identity. I want to read you a little quote, actually, from one of these writers that I tend to read, a guy called Francis Fukuyama. I don't know if you know him. He said, while minority of the human population will be sufficiently sheltered so as to enter a post-historical realm living in cities and suburbs in which the environment has been mastered and ethnic animosities have been quelled by bourgeois prosperity, an increasingly large number of people will be stuck in history, living in shanty towns where attempts to rise above poverty, cultural dysfunction, and ethnic strife will be doomed by a lack of water to drink, soil to till, and space to survive in. Suggesting that really affluent people find it very easy to rise above some of these identities that might be seen as minor identities, ethnic issues, religious issues, but that the poorer you are, the more likely you are to wallow in them.
I think it's essentially the case. Let's not forget the definition of the Nigeria we are talking about emerged out of the nationalist movement after the Second World War.
I'm going to have to ask you to just take a small pause.
Okay.
I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, you carry on. Don't go away.